What up, GZ crew? Welcome back to the channel, and in this video I'm going to teach you how you can improve fast and effectively at Apex. Let's dive right into it. Forgive me as I still do get a little bit nervous in front of the camera, as I don't do this often, but I cannot stress this enough. Firing range is so important to getting better at the game. I see countless people wasting time just dying off rip, taking fights and just wasting, just completely losing and just not getting better at all. You have to use firing range. I know it might be boring, but it is so important into improving as a player. The techniques you can develop in firing range and the fact that you get infinite ammo now and you can just play any guns you want is so important. So what I like to do is, when I was obviously, I wasn't always like a high up player. I obviously started at a lower rank, rookie or bronze whenever I started. I would die constantly and just wasted so much time. And the thing I advise the most here is most definitely picking up a weapon that you're comfortable with and you know is good. You don't necessarily have to be comfortable with the gun, but just choose like 2 weapons that you want to use religiously. So for me, I chose the R301, and at the time I chose the R99, but now that it's gotten nerfed since then, I would definitely choose, I don't know if the Volt is still in because I haven't played really that much this season. I was building a computer, but essentially what you're gonna do is you're gonna equip maybe blue attachments, but I usually would put on the best attachment, and people say not to sometimes because it's obviously not going to be completely realistic to what you get in the game. But the first thing I would do is you have to learn the recoil of the weapons you're using. For example, the R301, it's one of the most efficient weapons in the game. If we shoot, you can see that it's straight up question mark. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your thumb and you're going to pull down. Oh, also claw. Claw is super important. You don't have to play claw, but I'd recommend. You got to pull down and then go in the same direction but inverted. So if it's a question mark like this, I'm going to go down and then to the left. So for example, one last time, just looking at it, it's kind of just like a question mark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pull down same directions. It's a little shaky, but once you get used to it, like, you can just add it like boom, it's just a straight line. So for example, if I'm aiming at a person, dead. And you have to make sure that you memorize this. Like your muscle memory to this is so important, so it just comes naturally. And a lot of people don't do this, and they just use different guns and never develop real muscle memory to it. So they end up just dying because they can't hit their shots. And then tracking is also important. You can just kind of practice that by aiming at the dummy and just moving to the side and then moving to the other side. So for example, now that we've learned how to shoot straight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that, but then also incorporate moving left and right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to miss that one. Yeah, so that's tip number 1. Definitely just get acquainted with 2 weapons. So the R301 and the Volt is what I'd recommend. Every game, just pick up the same guns no matter what. Like, let's say you get like a Debo with like a legendary barrel stabilizer and a turbocharger. If you see the gun that you're practicing, always prioritize that one no matter what. Just use it every single game. And my second tip is definitely to increase your movement speed and just like your overall just skill at being able to get around. So for example, I see a lot of noobs, they always are carrying their guns. You have to holster your weapons. You have to. This will increase your movement speed by not a lot, but since the map is so big and the games last so long, everything you do, every second you spend getting to another area and getting to another position can possibly cost you the game, slash also I don't know, just hinder your progress. So for example, when I'm running, I'm always slide jumping. This makes me go the fastest speed possible. When there's a zip line, you want to approach it, you want to jump and then press X and then jump off. Boom. So you get that extra little bit of distance on any time. Wall jumping is important, so like being able to just bounce off things, that gets you a lot more movement speed, and also it's harder to be hit. So definitely like practice these things. Also, your sensitivity. Your sensitivity is so important. I see people like having bad days, good days and whatnot, and changing their sensitivity like willy-nilly. Never do this. You have to pick one sensitivity, and you gotta stick with it. That's how you build muscle memory, because say you're on one sensitivity, you're playing good one day, and then the next day you do terribly. If you switch to like 10 sensitivity, the muscle memory in your thumb is just gonna be forgotten, because everything you've been practicing and building up to has just been deleted. So I'd recommend trying like a medium to high sensitivity. That way you can start incorporating flicks and just being able to like turn around quicker so someone's behind you. That's probably an ideal sensitivity. Oh yeah, settings is also really important. This interact prompt style compact, it just keeps the what's it called, like the information on the items smaller. Button hints, you can turn those off. I mean, actually, if you're really new, keep them on, but if you're just better, turn them off. It just leads to a more sleek and better looking UI. Crosshair damage feedback, I'd honestly turn that off. You can keep it on if you find it satisfying. Damage numbers, I personally do both, but you could also just choose whichever one you prefer better, whether that's floating or stacking. I choose both because I prefer to see both. Ping opacity faded, that way when you ping things you can always see through them. Obituaries on. Minimap rotation, whatever you prefer, it doesn't matter. I choose off. Weapon auto cycle on empty, I choose off. Some people do on. I don't know. I just like having to manually do it. That way it doesn't hinder my my button mashing. Auto sprint on. That's super important for movement, because you don't want to be pressing in on the joystick or double pressing the joystick, whatever you have it set to. That way you can always just be quick with it. Double tap sprint, I have that off. This is in Minecraft, respectfully, you gotta keep it off. Just put on auto sprint, save yourself the trouble. Jetpack control doesn't matter. Incoming damage feedback, I personally have 3D. I could never see 2D because 2D is just more confusing. Taking damage closes death box or crafting menu. So important. Keep that off. That way you can armor swap quickly when you're on a dead body. You can just quickly swap to the next armor. Pop up, doesn't matter. I have it on. Streamer mode, bro, I don't care. You can see that I killed you. GZKBN on top. Just playing. Anonymous mode, I have disabled. Usage sharing enabled. Performance display, that's whether or not you want to track your FPS. If you have Ethernet and just have like a good console or PC, I'd recommend keeping it off. If you have crappy, if it's just bad Xbox or whatever, I'd probably turn it on to see what your FPS is. Club invites, stupid, forget that. Communication filter, forget that. Reticle, honestly, choose a color that's more choose a color that you can see through better. Like personally, I have pink because I find it easier to just see through it almost, and keep the opacity lower. Laser sight, doesn't matter. I just have it on default. Colorblind mode, Tritanopia. This I've heard that Tritanopia kind of reduces the shadows, so when you're in a dark area you can see the person you're going against. Subtitles, doesn't matter. Subtitle size, doesn't matter. Enable accessible chat features, doesn't matter. Disable voice chat, doesn't matter. Convert, alright, yeah, none of this matters. Alright, controller. Stick layout, default. Interact/reload button. I use tap to use and reload. That's just what I prefer. Crouch button, I have it on toggle. I know that a lot of people say movement is better on hold, but you can, contrary to popular belief, you can actually do a lot of the things you can do on hold with toggle. It just takes for more practice on your B and A button or whatever you use for crouch. Aim button, I have it on hold, doesn't matter. Survival slot button, I'm a weirdo, I have it on off so I could spin my heirloom. Trigger dead zones, this is whether or not your controller has stick drift. So the more stick drift, the higher you want that, and the less stick drift, the lower. So since my controller is brand new, I got no stick drift, so I have it on none. Menu cursor speed, oh, this is so important. Cursor speed, you have to have that on max. No matter how bad you want to keep it lower because it's hard to click, if you can get used to it on max, that will allow you to grab the armor as fast as possible, and just get out of the death box as quick as possible. Look sensitivity, I had mine on 5 and 4 before I went to ALCs. That's just what I played on. That's the speed I liked, and that's what I thought would be the best for just gameplay. Movement dead zone, same thing. I just keep it on small, inverted look off, vibrations off, because I know you guys like vibrations, but it's really not practical to have your controller just like when you're shooting, just like turn it off.
What the hell, boy?
Advanced look controls. Here's mine. So I have it on. I have dead zones at 0, outer threshold 1, response curve 10, per optic sense settings. I didn't touch those. Yaw speed 300, pitch speed 200. 0, ADS yaw speed 120, ADS pitch speed 120, ADS turning extra yaw 0, ADS extra pitch 0, ADS turning ramp up time, ADS turning ramp up delay 0. Target compensation on. Obviously, if you want to be like a sweat like N Moose who turned this shit off for 6 months, then obviously turn it off. Melee target compensation on, target compensation style default. Next for the video, this is also important. You have to have your FOV at max. You don't I mean, it's all preference, but I'd honestly say you should have it at max. That way you can see the most on the edge of your screen. Also, it makes you seem like you're running faster, which I don't know, when I was playing in the beginning, it felt really nice and smooth. FOV ability scaling, I have it enabled, but I know some people disable it, so that way when they trigger Bloodhound's ultimate, it doesn't stretch their screen and whatnot and possibly mess up their aim, but I got used to it. Sprint view shake, for some reason I have this on normal. Turn that on minimal. That way when you're sprinting, your screen isn't bobbing up and down, so you can keep a more steady screen. But yeah, that's basically the majority of what I can think of. And just like obviously repetitions. I used to be friends with a lot of the top predators on Xbox, and I would always constantly ask them to 1v1 back in the old firing range. I don't know. Well, I do know the newer firing range, you can 1v1 over where I'm pinging. I feel like just playing players who are better than you just on repeat makes you improve so fast. I remember in like season 7, I was like level 50 and I hit diamond, and then I met this one dude and we just would 1v1 over and over and over, and he was way better than me. He'd been predator before and everything, and he would crap on me, but then every so often I would start to kill him, and then every so often I'd start to kill him more, and then honestly then it became 50-50, and that's when I knew I improved. So when I would hop back into a normal game with the guns I selected, so the R301 and the R9, I would just be able to shred people because my opponents were not as good as the kid I've been 1v1ing over and over and over and over and over again. And then obviously positioning is really important. You should get really familiar with the towns you're landing at. That way you can just outsmart people there and just like think about better positioning and better loot drops. Rotations are important. Always think about the quickest way possible, but then also avoiding the most amount of third parties. I'd say to try to get kills off rip, and then once you get those kills, move to circle and try to just position yourself for the end game and then possibly pick up some more points. I don't know if that's still how it works in rank this season because I haven't played any, but that's what I did, and that's how I was able to rank up really quickly. Choose a legend with good, like especially if you're a solo, you gotta choose a legend who has good movement. For example, Wraith. The reason why I played Wraith, I know it's a sweaty, like that's some corny shit, like that sweaty Wraith, whatever. I chose Wraith because when I'm getting shot at or I'm about to die, I can phase, and it's kind of like a get out of jail free card, which lets me just kind of reset and fall behind my teammates. Maybe Pathfinder because you can grapple back to your teammates. But of course, if you're in a 3-stack, when you have more dynamic team compositions, I'd suggest just strong characters like Gaby. Like honestly, bro, like you should not be playing Mirage in ranked because like Mirage is a fun pubs character, but mostly like when you get to the higher levels, everyone knows how to counter Mirage, and he's not that useful. So just make sure to choose a good legend. Choose 2 weapons to constantly use and practice in the firing range, and practice your movement. Just get better positioning and use the most optimal settings, and never change your sensitivity. Never change your sensitivity so you can just develop the muscle memory. So yeah, this is GZKBN. If you found my tips useful, please subscribe. I'm a new channel. But yeah, have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your night. And I hope you do well in this ranked season.
Mozambique, yeah.